sun, I'll be the bride and black that's making you run. I feel alright and we'll feel alright, 'cause we'll work it out. Yeah, we'll work it out. I'll be doing this if you ever doubt, till the love runs out, till the love runs out. I'll be your ghost, your game, your stadium. I'll be your 50,000 clapping like one. I feel alright and I feel alright, 'cause I worked it out. Yeah, I worked it out. I'll be doing this if you ever doubt, till the love runs out, till the love runs out. I've got my mind made up and I can't let go. I'm killing every second till it saves my soul. I'll be running till the love runs out, till the love runs out. And we'll start a fire and we'll shut it down, till the love runs out, till the love runs out.
Well, hello, I'm Jerry McKee, and welcome to Prime Time. And you're going to say, wow, what's that big old mountain behind him? It's nothing that I would ever climb. I couldn't make it, but we're going to talk to a lady that her and her husband had this journey, and we're going to talk about her other journeys. And I'm talking about Dr. Cheryl McAuley. And she lives down towards Alabama way. And she's also a member of the Tennessee Valley Civil War Roundtable. And she's got so many things that she goes on. She's a retired lieutenant colonel. That's right. And she's also been deployed to the Horn of Africa in 2004, volunteered to serve 1 year tour in Baghdad, Iraq. She holds degrees from West Chester University and George Mason University, a Master in Public Administration, U.S. Army War College, a Master in Strategic Studies, a Doctorate in Management and Organizational Leadership from the University of Phoenix. I tell you what. And she also has been in union here a little bit and talking about the work of a aeronaut during the Civil War, and that is Thaddeus Lowe. And we're going to talk about a little bit about him there too, but we're going to find out a little bit what makes, I'm going to just call her Cheryl, what all that she does. She's a wonderful lady. She's got 3 books out and very interesting. And you're going to hear a little bit about where some of the donations go for these books. And you'll find out that that's just wild. So she wrote a book about her adventure. So we're going to talk about that. And you're going to see some little videos too. So enough of me. I'm going to bring Cheryl on. And let's see here. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Jerry. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great having you on. I tell you, I think I've ran out of time of talking all about your accolades and everything that you do, because you are one very busy lady, I tell you, and helping others. You give a lot to yourself. And I got to ask, and all these things that you do, when growing up, did you like history, or how did you really start taking the interest of history and all the things that you do? People, Africa. I mean, it had to be a grounding point in your life that got you where you are today.
Well, there are lots of things that contribute to that, but I have to go back to we grew up in my family grew up in Maryland, and so we're in the heart of lots of important history for America. And my mother was a wonderful teacher and took us to all the battlefields, took us to all the museums. That was always where we were. So we had a great understanding of our country's history and foundation. And of course, Washington, D.C. was right there. Everything, Philadelphia, everything is there, that the grounding for our country. And so that was some of it. But the way I got hooked on the Civil War, the American Civil War, would be in September of 1994, we took my mother to Gettysburg for the horse trail ride. You could get on a horse and take the trail across the battlefield and back. And of course, she just loved that. And but when I got on the battlefield on the back of a horse with my crash helmet on, there's something happened, and there was a huge spark that lit my interest in a big way. I came back, I mentioned it to a friend, and who said, "Have you read Killer Angels?" No. Once I read Killer Angels, I read everything I could on Joshua Chamberlain, everything that he wrote, everything that was written about him. Went to Brunswick. Our first roundtable that we belonged to was the Brunswick roundtable, the Chamberlain in Brunswick, the Chamberlain roundtable. And we went to Maine for several of their events, and so that was the first roundtable that we belonged to. So history has always been very important to us, and but that's how I wound up getting involved with Civil War studies on my own. And when we moved to Alabama, we joined the Tennessee Valley Civil War Roundtable, and we've learned more about the battlefields in the South. And Shiloh, we have a trip planned to Shiloh in November for our group. And there's so many important battles here too, and so we're learning those, and have met some amazing people, and some of our lifelong friends are in the roundtable now. We've been members since 2007.
Right. And as people watching, they can see that logo kind of over your shoulder up there a little bit of the Tennessee Valley Roundtable. And now I got to ask you this too, because you are a retired lieutenant colonel, and how did you decide to say, I'm going to go join, I'm going to go join the service? And did you have someone that maybe in your family that inspired you, or how did you make that decision?
What I thought my plan was, what I thought God wanted me to do was teach piano, and that was always my goal. I was a church musician, church organist, and choir director. Actually, my first church job, believe it or not, I was 10, and I was playing an 8 o'clock service in a Lutheran church because they didn't have an organist for that, and my feet couldn't even reach the pedals. But anyway, I was part of that service. At 16, I got my first paying job, where I was driving to the church for the rehearsals and Sunday and so forth. And that was where I thought I was going to be. And my bachelor's degree, it was in piano performance. And so everything I did was music until 1979. I took a 3-credit course through the University of Iowa called the Classical Music Seminar. And it was a graduate course, and it was based in Austria. And we were outside of Vienna in a little village, Eisenach, where Joseph Haydn did his work for the court of Esterhazy. And so there was a symphony, there was a chorus, and folks got lessons, and there were master classes, and there were speakers. It was really fantastic. And then one day they took us to see where Franz Liszt was born in Hungary. That was the day that I learned we had to get on a bus, and at the border with Hungary, which was still part of the Iron Curtain at that point, we had to, get off the bus, turn our passports into these guards with weapons. And I realized for the first time in my very sheltered life that there were people who were not free to leave their countries. And I came back and wanted to do more than I was already doing. The Russians had invaded Afghanistan. We had hostages in Iran, and it was really a rough a rough period for our country. And then there was someone named Ronald Reagan running for president. And I joined the Maryland Army National Guard on my 26th birthday, which is kind of late for enlisting, but I did that, and went to basic training and at Fort McClellan, my first trip to Alabama. And then I served in the Maryland Guard for 10 years and transferred to the Army Reserves. And in the meantime, was fortunate to get was able to apply for a government job, and a friend made sent a letter of recommendation in for me, and the advanced military course at Fort Huachuca, Arizona also helped, and I was able to work for the government for the next 26 years and do reserve duty on the weekends. So that's pretty much the military piece.
Now, when you went through basic training, did you say, "Oh no, what did I get into?" I mean, I went through basic training, and I had a real tough scout master when I was in the Boy Scouts. He was like a drill sergeant at one time before, and he taught us like that. And when I went, I said, "Oh, it's just like Boy Scouts."
Well, it was definitely a new culture for me. That's when I learned not to volunteer. We would go to the dining hall, and they needed people to open the doors, and I would be right up front to open the doors for everybody else to go in, and I was the last one to eat. But I was still happy to open the doors for everybody else. But that also meant less time to finish your meal. But little things. I mean, and of course the teamwork. There was only one person older than I was. She was 27, and everybody else was very young. And so I had not, run long distances or anything like that. And the push-ups, all of that was all new for me.
Well, I can imagine, because I was young when I went to basic training, and but you've been. How many countries have you been to? Because I heard you mention about 3 right there.
Well, you mean in the military? I was mainly based in the DC area, but then I did deploy to Djibouti in the Horn of Africa, as you mentioned, and then I volunteered to go to Baghdad before I retired.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about your experience in Africa. Because we're going to see, they're going to see that a little bit here. I know that's kind of like your heart.
Yeah, Africa is just so incredible, and people are amazing. If you want to talk about Djibouti, that's I can't say Djibouti's beautiful. Djibouti is the poorest, at least at the time I was there. It was the poorest country in East Africa, and it was so dismal that I couldn't take pictures. I did not want people to see how desperate and how the poverty of Djibouti is just amazing. But later we had a chance to go to Africa with Compassion International, and that's when we raised money for clean water in Africa. We sponsored our first Compassion daughter named Beatrice in 2008, and we had an opportunity to meet her. And Compassion said, "Would you like to meet Beatrice?" And of course, I said we would. And once we retired, we were in a better situation to be able to go meet her. We had that question before, but we just couldn't get away. Once we were both retired, we had the chance to go to Africa to meet Beatrice, and Compassion International, they're based in Colorado Springs, said, "By the way, we're going to climb Kilimanjaro while we're there." So we had to be ready for both missions, to meet the children and also to climb the mountains. So that that was our very special time, walking across the plains of Africa for 6 days, camping, and being completely spoiled by the porters and the Africans who helped us up the mountain. They just took such good care of us.
I bet they could make it up the mountain pretty quickly, couldn't they?
They were so impressive, and that was their livelihood. But there are occasions when the porters and guides may not make it. So it's anybody's guess when someone will have a bout of altitude sickness. And but our chief guide, his name is Jackson. In fact, I still get an email every now and then from Jackson asking how we're doing. And he's got 3 little boys. Of course, COVID just ruined all of that for them. That was their livelihood, and no one was going up the mountain. But the mountain is open again, and people are climbing her again, and that's really rewarding.
Now, what was it like you first meeting your sponsor?
Oh,
Well, I mean, and her response. I mean, it had to be kind of anxious at first, and just because just not really know. You probably had a picture of her.
we'd been writing letters since she was a little kid, and so now she was about to be 15. I'm sorry, 16, and she didn't speak much English with us, even though she takes English classes and so forth. There was a pastor with her and a sponsor with her from her village who traveled with her, because it was the first time she'd ever been out of her village and spent a night in a hotel and ate in a restaurant. I mean, all of that was all new for her. In fact, the first book is dedicated to her. Meeting her, to spend a day with her, yes, we'd exchanged pictures and letters, and there's someone from Compassion they do the translations so the children can read the letters, and so she knew we were coming, and it was just really a special day.
I bet so. When we take things granted, even the smallest things here, and when you talk about her first restaurant, her first motel, I can't even imagine what that has to be like for someone that lives in the poverty and like you said, the conditions that they live in, to actually even have the running water right there in the motel.
Right.
And it's kind of sad that if we spread the wealth all over the world, it would be no hunger and no one living like that. And I'm just glad that you were part of her life, and hopefully
Thank you.
encourages other people to take up the cross and do like you did, get with that organization and just that's, to me, is a good ministry.
Thank you. Well, Compassion International is great. I love to be an advocate for them. There are other organizations that also do fantastic work. World Vision. There are lots of others. Samaritan's Purse. But Compassion International is in 26 countries around the world, but we focus on, our contribution goes to Africa. Anything to do with clean water and WASH, the sanitation and hygiene programs in Africa. It's pretty necessary, and so we that's our priority.
Now, Cheryl, now you go around a lot of speaking engagements across the United States, and
Mostly local. Coming to Union was pretty special, and that was the first time we had taken the presentation outside of the Huntsville area.
okay, because I was just thinking about. I know you was in Union. I drove up from Alabama, but I think you and your husband was going on vacation. You was going a little bit further north for some other activities, and I thought to myself, well, she's coming by here to stop.
Well, we're looking forward to coming back in October. The Union Historical Society asked for a second presentation, and I have some updates for that, and that'll be October the 25th, and it'll be at the Carnegie Library. And I'm really excited about coming back and sharing our new some of our new information there, and that's going to be exciting. And we're preparing for a small exhibit that will open in April of 2026 to commemorate Lowe's accidental landing 165 years ago. So that's the plan, and that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. And as you look at the ticker down below, people, you can go and just type in Cheryl's name and go to Amazon, and you'll find her books right there. And her books is dedicated. She gives some of the proceeds to Africa, to that village, to help them to even have clean water, Cheryl, or
clean water, new wells, and new bathroom facilities.
See, so by buying a book, and it's a good book too. It's a great book, and you're going to learn some things, and especially when we talk about a little bit about the mountain there too. But I'm going to talk about them other two books here in a second, also, because it's kind of like a sequel. After the butterfly, what's next, God? And then you got another one exactly like it after the butterfly, and another title there with it. And I tell you what, let's go to some slides and look at those where let me click another button here to get the ticker off. But it's I want us to go with the slides here to show you one thing about the books, and also show you some great pictures. And you'll get to see John. We're not making his name up, are we?
He's right here.
I know he's close by. Well, let's see. Let me let's pull up some slides here. Now, we talked about the Tennessee Valley Civil War Roundtable. Kind of tell a little bit about this organization, Cheryl. You're, I'm not mistaken, you're the president of it right now.
I am, since January, and it's really been fun. We're finishing up. We're in our 6 months together, and it's been a great year, and I've enjoyed it very much. I hope they have too. And we have some good plans. The mission of the Tennessee Valley Civil War Roundtable is twofold, always about education and preservation. So we are currently raising extra money. In addition to the dues, we're raising money for the new expanded Civil War exhibit at our local Veterans Museum in Huntsville. We have a tremendous new building coming in, and we will be part of the new Civil War exhibit, the expanded version of the exhibit. That's where some of our donations go. And we meet 11 months of the year. And some roundtables, I'm finding out, only meet from September to May, but we go all year except for December. We have several different groups within our organization. We have our main membership meeting meets the second Thursday of the month. And we have a little roundtable, which I haven't heard of anyone else with that kind of a thing. And that started 15 years ago by one of our previous presidents, John Allen. And that is the group that gets down in the weeds with maps and battlefields, and they study in depth different issues at hand, and everybody takes a turn facilitating. And there's even been a book written by some of the people in the organization that's on their website, and you can look at the book online. The roundtable is non-political, non-partisan. and it's a nonprofit that's now 32 years old. And we now have 124 members, and I set a goal of 160 for 2025, and that is to help commemorate the end of the surrender at Appomattox and the beginning of the peace after the American Civil War. There's a lot of talented board members, and they strive to give our members quality programs with the resources that we have. And we're doing some fun things. July 5th, we're going to try, we're going to run the movie Gettysburg for the members at our meeting location with a big screen, and that'll be a lot of fun to watch Gettysburg together.
Well, do you get a lot of people that will donate because I know through these woods and stuff, I got a friend of mine that has a metal detector, and he finds a lot of Civil War items, from buttons to bayonet to different things he has found. Do you have people that donate that to kind of help for your organization be display?
We have people who are avid collectors, and John actually is one of those. We don't necessarily display those items. Sometimes someone may use some of the items for a presentation. I remember when one of our other former presidents, actually the co-founder, Mark Hubbs, had a great presentation on rifling and different weapons in his collection, and to demonstrate how the bullets were made and so forth. And so there are people with collections, but our roundtable, we have books that have been donated to us, and then we sell those at the end of before and after the meetings, to help raise funds to fund our speakers and our programs.
Well, that's enough to keep you real busy.
It is, but it's a joy.
Now, I like the scripture. Is this the picture? Is it something that you had taken or John has taken?
No, this is actually copyrighted by Believe.com. It was a series of pictures in a calendar, and I always was drawn to this one, and I love that verse. So I send this every time one of the every time one of the Compassion children graduates. I send them this verse, because there's a plan for them. And they may not know what the plan is, and none of us know what the plan is for us. But this is huge, and I try to make sure that they each get a copy of this before they graduate.
Yeah, well, it's a great verse. Now, here's a beautiful sunset.
It is the sunrise over the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, sunrise.
Of our one of our favorite getaways is a little Ocean City resort, a resort town, Ocean City, Maryland. There's an Ocean City, New Jersey, but this is Ocean City, Maryland, and I always make sure I don't miss the sunrise when we get to visit there.
Well, it's a beautiful sunrise. You can't tell if it's a sunset or sunrise by picture, but it is beautiful.
Thank you.
And who is this young lady?
A lot of people don't know that I also was a warrant officer. So I was enlisted and commissioned, but then I was also a warrant officer in between. And so I had to throw this in because this was a really special time in my life. I had made the rank of captain as an Army captain, and I gave up my commission to become a CW2, or Chief Warrant Officer 2, which is the rank for the bandmaster. I was the Army bandmaster of the unit that I actually started with. I said that I joined the Guard so I could learn some new skills and make a better contribution than teaching piano. But the recruiter saw my piano degree and he put me in the band. I said, I don't want to be in the band. I want to learn a new skill. But that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I met some amazing musicians and soldiers and mentors. And as things things grew, and I went off to officer candidate school and served in a unit, and then I had an opportunity when the bandmaster was retiring. I applied for the position, and so that was a wonderful period. A lot of hard work, but we did all those pass and reviews, and parades, and had to practice a lot of music, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, I knew that it had to be music because the conductors won.
I sent that baton over to Baghdad to the fellow who was the conductor for the ceremonial band in Baghdad. And when I came back from my tour, we did an instrument collection for that band, and sent over 27 different instruments to help fulfill their need. And I sent that baton to the conductor.
Oh, if you hear clocks, everybody's used to my clocks. They going off about every half an hour or so. Now, now, who is this right here?
No, that's me, and
What?
that's in Baghdad, and there wasn't all the services were a cappella, and no music. So I wrote home and asked for folks, anybody had a book that they could donate, and they supplied me with plenty of music that I could use for the services.
Oh, that's great. That didn't even look like you.
Short hair. I had to go to the barber. There were no women's. There were no hairdressers, but I actually went to the barber, and they cut my hair.
And this looks like you're sitting in a helicopter.
Yeah, that's the ride, the freedom ride home. It was joyful, but it was also tearful, and because it was an amazing year. I met some amazing people. The Iraqis, they want the same freedoms for their children. They want their children to be able to go to school. And I happened to be there during the time in 2010. March of 2010 was the election, and I got to see the Iraqis vote with the ink on their fingers afterwards, and the pride that they had, and it was really an amazing time.
Wow.
Well, this is if I hadn't gone to Baghdad, I wouldn't have gotten the letter from the Veterans Administration that says, hey, you've got educational benefits. And I thought, well, I've already been to, I don't know what could I possibly work on in a study that hasn't already been done. And I was fortunate to be accepted at the University of Phoenix, and I did a lot of online courses, and it was really a lot of very hard work. And I started that in 2012 and finished in 2016 and defended in April of 2016.
You've done a lot of studying and a lot of education work in your career. It's very.
I've been very blessed, and the government. I have to say my master's in public administration at George Mason was paid for with tax dollars, and so was my year at Army War College, where I got the Master of Strategic Studies, and then the Veterans Administration helped fund this degree. So I'm I was very blessed that was available.
Now, is this your first fish?
It is. We went to a conference after graduation. We went to a conference in Iceland, and I met some of the people who I had quoted in my dissertation. It was really exciting. And afterwards, we spent a week on tour in Iceland, and one of the options was to go cod fishing. And so this photograph, and I signed us up for John to go fishing. I didn't know I was going to be fishing, much less catch anything. But there are two fish on the same, on the same.
Yeah, I'll see that.
And the captain was cooking the fish on the back of the boat, and that was the freshest fish I'd ever had to eat, and it was just. Really
he'd cook it right on the boat. Wow.
So that was in Iceland. And then, of course, there's our picture. And I don't know whether you can see, we don't have that picture in the house, but we have a pillow made with that picture. and, uh, and we have, some coasters and things like that. So, but that's at the base. We're getting ready to approach the base camp before the summit night. And that's 2017. And then we annually have prepared for Flag Day, and John makes homemade vanilla ice cream.
Wow.
And we invite our friends over, and we ask them to bring a lawn chair, and everybody sits in the backyard, and we have a table with all the fixings for Sundays that anybody might want. And it's a lot of fellowship, and it's always been fun. We opted not to do that this year. And maybe that's best because we've had so much rain in Alabama. I don't know that we would have had it. This coming Saturday would have been the day that we would have done this, but we opted not to do it this year.
Well, I've seen this picture right here and I thought, oh, now she has a cooking show with John.
He makes amazing vanilla ice cream. Our friends can attest to that. A friend took this picture while we were in the little library of our favorite coffee shop is Flint River Coffee. Our pastor is bivocational, and this is he and his wife started this sweet place, and we love to go here. And this is where we meet people and have lunch. In fact, we were there today.
Ah, it's like a little quaint place.
It is. Last year, we went back up to Maryland for a friend's daughter's wedding, and so that's the dress I wore for John's retirement and for my Army War College graduation. I hadn't worn it since 2007, so I'm glad I kept it.
Exactly, and it still fits perfectly, right?
Oh, thanks. This was August of last year. It was the first day of our 75-day trip to Europe. And so that's our carry-on, and we were at the Huntsville airport getting ready to start our trip.
Now, this is a beautiful picture there.
Thank you. This is France. This is the Monet property, and where he did all those paintings of the lilies and the bridge. And we have started a tradition of these reverse pictures. So the first one that we ever did that with was in 2007 on John's retirement cruise. We were leaving the Kusadasi port in Turkey, and we have our first, reverse picture like this. But we have pictures from New Zealand and all over the world like this. They're from behind, and they're really special.
That's beautiful out there.
Thank you. This was the night of my mother's 90th birthday, and she had an amazing birthday party on December the 16th, Beethoven's birthday, and we were celebrating her birthday.
Well,
together.
no wonder you're in music. Your mother was born on Beethoven. Now here is one of your books that I believe this is a book signing.
This was the first book signing. This was in March of this year. There's an annual fair, and I've gone a couple of times now. But this was the first time that the last book, the newest book, was introduced, and so it was really a thrill to have this book finished. I was trying to get it finished for my mom's birthday in December, and that didn't happen. And so there were some delays, but I was able to get it finished, and then we started selling it in person in March.
Now, this book is After the Butterfly, and it's Heard You God?
I heard you, God.
And
yeah.
Is this
and
a little bit about this book? Could you tell us a little bit? It's like you dug into nonprofit organizations and.
Yes, this book it has several things, but the second chapter is the most important chapter because the royalties from this book go to the Cabazon Wounded Warrior Haven in New Mexico. One of my colleagues in Iraq, Michael Tachias, came home. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Tachias came home from Baghdad after when he retired. He started a Wounded Warrior Haven in New Mexico, and so these royalties go to that organization, and they're doing amazing work. You can Google them, and we visited the ranch last April so that I could write about it in this book, and it's a really special place.
Yeah, I've heard of the Wounded Warriors, and they do fantastic job. They are a great organization.
They really do. And this is not the Wounded Warriors. This is the Cabazon Wounded Warrior Haven.
Oh, okay.
It's a different organization, and but you can Google them and see the things that they're doing for the veterans in New Mexico, outside of Albuquerque. And it was a pretty exciting trip to go up to the ranch because it's in a very remote area. Mm-hmm. I never made it to Afghanistan, but John did and Michael did, and evidently the terrain in New Mexico is very much like where they were in Afghanistan. And so it's a very healing place for the soldiers that served there.
Now, I know where this picture was taken.
Yes, you do. That was in April, just a few weeks ago, and we finally got to walk the property thanks to the efforts by Dr. Stephen Lemons, your brother-in-law,
That's right?
And that's how we got to meet, how you and I met. And Steve got the permission for us to walk on the property where Lowe's balloon accidentally landed. And I thought it was really special. We were lucky the weather held up. We were able to get there and get some photographs, and that's pretty special.
Yes. Your other book, After the Butterfly, What's Next, God? What is this book about? I know it's where you face some heartbreaking failures and talk to setbacks and struggling to hear from God. Yep. Tell us a little bit about that book, because it's almost like a chapter after the Butterfly number one.
It is Butterfly number one, and I hadn't intended to write. Well, I had never intended to write any books, but the Kilimanjaro trip was very. I mean, I thought if I were to write a book about this is, I could tell the story unlike others. But the After the Butterfly turned out to be a memoir, and I wrote about some things I'd never written about before. There's some things in there people do not know that I lived through. And one of my childhood friends, who now lives in Maine, his wife started an organization called Restoration Inc., and they help women who have been human trafficked. And they are helping to transform the tattoos that they receive into a work of art. So that's the ministry that's happening there. And so the royalties from After the Butterfly, I Heard You, God, those royalties go to Restoration Inc., which is now Courage Lives.
Sounds like a great book to read, because I was reading some of the capture of the book, and people, you can go on Amazon and just Google Cheryl's name, and you will find these books here. And it's not only a book that you can buy; it's helping others, and that's what I like about it, giving back to others.
Thank you. And if I could just say, the Kilimanjaro book happens to also be, all three of them are on Kindle, and all three of them are in paperback. But the Kilimanjaro book is also on audio. So that's the only one where there's actually someone reading. And she was a very gifted reader from Athens, Alabama, Dinah Beard, and she passed away from a very aggressive cancer. So we have her voice on tape, which I'm thrilled about. And then this is just a fun photo that I love. Again, it's the balloons. It sticks with the theme of the low, and so I like to finish the low presentation with this slide.
Right, and a lot of people, if you want to let them know who Low is, and so some people might not know. So who's this Low guy with this balloon?
Thaddeus Lowe was really a fascinating character, and I stumbled on him. I did a paper in 1999 for a military course on the applications of military ballooning, 100 years of a century of military ballooning. And when I reached the low portion, I thought sometime I want to study more about him. During COVID, I had that opportunity, and our little roundtable was looking for topics, and said, "Does anybody have anything that they would like to present?" And so I worked on a low briefing. So that was the beginning of that. Union, South Carolina, Pea Ridge is where that balloon landed accidentally. He was trying to fly from Cincinnati to New Jersey and got blown off course. And it's quite a fun story. And it was wonderful to be in Union, and the Historical Society is fantastic there. All the gentlemen in the board at the board meeting that we got to meet. We're hoping to see a new exhibit in Union to commemorate Lowe.
And if you really want to find out and listen to Cheryl tell this story and see some slides, just go on my YouTube channel and you can find it right there. We got a video up there where she spoke to the Masons there in Kelton area, and Mount Joy. And so you go on and look, and you'll be surprised. Now, Asante Sana, is that how you pronounce that?
Asante
Yeah.
Sana. It's thank you very much in Swahili.
And will they make it to the roof of Africa?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about this book. We're going to see a little film here in just a moment, a little video. This was to climb. Is it
19,341 feet.
Yes. And 5,791 meters for the ones that went translate over. What made you and John think, hey, there's that big mountain, let's climb it?
Well, we were going with a great organization that they were going to take care of us. We trained as best as we could. And of course, in Alabama, we don't have very high elevation, but we did go out to Pikes Peak and we climbed Pikes Peak. We also went to Mount Mitchell in North Carolina, which is the highest point on the East Coast. And we actually went there twice because the first time we did not get to the top. I was not able to, but after we did Pikes Peak, I wanted to go back and do Mount Mitchell. And it was much easier the second time.
In looking at the little video, and this part of it, we're just going to show a few minutes of it. But that was some rough terrain. It wasn't just like some of our mountains here, where you got some shade, you got like the cool breeze coming through there. I don't think you had too much of that, did you?
No, there are 5 ecological zones. So you start in a rainforest, and so there's lots of vegetation there, but it doesn't take long to break out of that and get into the other ecological zones, and then you finish with the Arctic. And so you go through 5 different zones.
Now, how long did it take you just to get to the top of the mountains? Was it 7 days, 6 days?
Well, it was 6 days of walking to get to the base camp, and then they started us at midnight to be able to get to the top because it's a 6-hour hike to get to the top by sunrise. And there's a point, and you might be showing it, where John reaches Gilman Point, and that's still an hour and a half away from the top. And some people get to Gilman Point and stop, and then they come back down. And then others proceed to the top. So you might be showing. I'm thinking you might be showing the part where they're reaching Gilman Point.
There wasn't any snakes going up through there. You saw. I mean, to me, the mountains you see.
No, we were there during the winter months for Africa.
Okay.
We were there in August. It was still. But no, we did not encounter snakes. There was very little wildlife where we were.
Well, I was wondering because you go hiking up in here, you got to watch out for bears and snakes and all those. So you got a lot more dangers there. But yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go ahead and show this video here. Let me get back up here. When you click buttons wrong, so we're going to show this, and you want to tell who the person was that made this video?
Oh, Ben Slaybach is one of the Compassion International staff members who went on this trip. It was his first time going to do this trip to Kilimanjaro, and they call them cause treks. So the folks who are doing the climbing are before the trip, and then that money went towards. We actually raised enough there were 26 of us, and we were able to raise enough money, $43,000, to build not just one well but 2 wells, and that really made a difference to. Yeah.
Well, let's just click on here and let's watch this.
Jumbo, Jumbo Bwana. To keep me from getting to you, baby. Remember the day I set you free. I told you you could always count on me, darling. From that day on, I made a vow. I'll be there when you want me some way, somehow. I'm leaning on a promise. There's a mountain here before me, and I'm gonna climb it with strength not my own. And he's gonna meet me where the mountain beats me and carry me through, yeah. And there's a river here before me, and I'm gonna cross it with strength not my own. He's gonna save me when the river takes me and carry me through. But Lord, be gentle, 'cause I'm just a man. Please don't crush me with your heavenly hand. Oh Lord, remember that I tried so hard, but I'm walking toward the kingdom, Lord. There's a thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder.
That's Ben. Everybody has a headlamp on.
This is when they're walking up to the mountain at Nart.
Yeah, babe.
Yep.
How you feel?
Oh, helium coming for you.
This is helium coming for you.
I'll be the cowboy on a wild horse, and if we don't drown when we're swimming ashore, I'll be the third in line to get us some more.
These were doctors and nurses who were on this trip. They're all in there. There's John, 67 years old, the oldest one to get to the top. Out of it. This is a little 19-year-old from California. This gal was pretty sick, but he persevered and continued. This is a teacher from California, Kira. I'm sorry, that's Darcy from Minnesota. She and her husband were 55. Joe got a nosebleed. You can see the sun is rising behind them.
Wow, it's beautiful.
And they still had another hour and a half to get to the very top. Here's Kiera from California. And here's our chief guide, Jackson, true servant leader.
This is on top of the mountain?
This is at the top.
Wow.
And John got to see the sunrise there. I was watching the sunrise from the bottom and also the moon setting. And this fella Jeff was from California, had never hiked or climbed in his life, and he made it to the top.
Man.
You can see there's not much ice left. You don't stay at the top for more than about 20 minutes, time enough to get pictures and turn around and get back down because it's so cold.
How cold was it up on top?
We're thinking about 20 below.
Woo.
And that was the nurse from Boston that I mentioned had been pretty sick, and they had to help her, keep going. Her legs were pretty much shot. But the gal on her right is the other staff person from Compassion International, Becca, who's also fantastic. We'd never done this climb before either. But that's a scree, and you go down with your heels in the stone.
It looked like you could slide down it just about.
Yeah. It was a pretty special place. And I'm so glad that it turned out that we got to do that. God's given us a lot of opportunities that we never dreamed of, and we have just been so blessed to meet the people that we have and be in the situations we've been. It's just been an incredible time. This is the celebration at the end, and we're thanking our porters, our cooks, our guides. And you can Google this song, the Kilimanjaro song. You can Google that and hear it, and this is all part of the trip. This is when they all get their tips, and any equipment that we may not use again, we can donate to them, and they might get a new pair of gloves or hat or something.
Wow.
Sun in the sky. You know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by.
I like to make sure people know that retirement doesn't mean life's over. We've been able to do some of the most exciting things in our lives since retirement, and we're very, very glad that we have been able to do that. The life we have here is temporary, and if you're a believer, you've got a lot to look forward to, and we're just really we're just really fortunate that God's given us this opportunity.
Well, I'm retiring, and I don't believe I'm gonna be able to get Edna up on that mountain. She almost not married me just getting her up there on Table Rock. So, well, Cheryl, it's up to getting at the top of the hour there, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing part of your life and part of John's life too, and your adventures, and we just Godspeed on everything y'all do. Look like you're having a great time doing it, enjoying life itself, and I think that's what God meant us to do, is to enjoy, to stop to enjoy His creation.
Thank you. And we'll see you in October.
I will be around in October, but this time I'll be retired.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to share our story and help everybody else.
Well, God bless you and John. Goodbye.
Thank you.